real estate agent, she wanted to, join the dark side over here and get into real estate. So I'm really excited because I have the opportunity to mentor her, but she already knows like so much. So I'm really grateful she's here to teach us about reverse mortgages.
Hey, thank you.
Carlin.
Thank you, Tessa. Let me, I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint even though. So as Tessa said, I have done mortgages since like 2000. I started in reverse mortgages, believe it or not. And it wasn't even until, can you hear me? Everyone can hear me? Hello?
We can.
Okay,
Yeah, you're
sorry. Okay, so I started out in reverse mortgages in 2000, and I actually didn't do a regular loan until I met Brandon and Corey. It's a small world that they're here, and I actually used to work under Brandon at one point in time, and so I never even did a real loan or like FHA, VA until like 2011. But I've always specialized in reverse mortgages. I've done them since the beginning of time. Probably done 500 of them or so, I would say, in one form or another, either finding one as a notary, because I was a notary before, I had my own notary company, or, as a loan officer. So have lots of experience in all sorts of different aspects of the loan program. So, but I'm not here as a loan officer. I'm just here to teach how this will work for a real estate agent and how to increase your business that you may not even know that you have. So that's what we're kind of focusing on today. Let's see. Okay, so the reason that I even started doing this is Nazar actually went on a TikTok the other day, or Reel or whatever it was, and he was talking about boomers and how they're all coming to age and having to sell or figure out what they want to do. But in his reel, he never mentioned anything about a reverse mortgage, which I know he knows about reverse mortgages. It wasn't that, but I just texted him and said, hey, I saw that you posted something about boomers, and I've done reverse mortgages forever, and if it's something that you ever want the agents to learn, then I'm more than happy to teach it. But just going into the senior aspect, a lot of people are really, I think their biggest fear is that they're not going to end up with enough money in retirement to survive, especially with where the economy is right now. A lot of people are losing money in their stocks and things like that. And so their biggest fear is that they're not going to, have enough money to live out a retirement, or for it to be golden years when it should be golden years. Because I've worked with a lot of seniors, a lot of them don't think that they're living golden years. A lot of them are still very stressed about things. Making a $2,500 mortgage payment at 65 or whatever age they are, the way that I look at it is I tell them every month you're making that mortgage payment, all you're doing really is paying your kids or your beneficiaries that money, because really the only thing that they're doing is paying the balance down in order for there to be more money for a beneficiary. So why are you making a mortgage payment? There's no point in doing that in my eyes at that age. So so the reverse mortgage, I only did this PowerPoint, you guys, because I tend to get all over the map. My ADHD goes crazy, so this is supposed to keep me on track. But if anybody has any questions or anything, just let me know. I don't see any questions yet. But okay, so a reverse mortgage, you can do a refinance if somebody already owns a home. I'm just going to strictly talk about purchasing with a reverse mortgage or selling a current property and having buying power to purchase another home, like either downsizing or something to that effect. So, but to start out with, everyone needs to know what a reverse mortgage is. Basically, a reverse mortgage is a loan just like any other loan. You're just not required to make a monthly mortgage payment. They do have to cover property taxes and insurance just like you would any other program, but you don't have to make a mortgage payment. And I don't know why everybody thinks that this program is so strange just because they don't have to make a mortgage payment. They think everything is, they think that that the bank is going to keep their house, or, there's a lot of misconceptions, and I'll cover those in just a minute, but we're going to go over just right now, what a reverse mortgage is. So you don't have to make a mortgage payment. It does have to be their primary residence. So you can't do a reverse mortgage on somebody's second home or vacation home or any of those other properties. Now they can do a reverse mortgage on their primary residence and take the cash out and go use that cash to purchase a second home or a vacation home if they want to. So, but it does have to be their primary residence. And then the only other things they have to do is they have to maintain the home. I don't know what happened to hold on. I don't know how to go back. Second. There it was, there. Okay. So they have to be 62 and older. They can be 55. They just don't get as much of a benefit percentage if they're only 55 and doing it. And so a lot of people tend to kind of shy away at doing it at 55, but you can do a reverse mortgage at 55. Like I said, I covered it must be their primary residence. And then the only other thing that they have to do is maintain the property, which means that if they have a fire or something like that and they get insurance money, they have to rebuild or make repairs or anything. They can't just, they have a water damage and they don't fix the water damage. They can't do any of that. They have to keep the home maintained and in order. But these were like really the only requirements of a reverse mortgage. But for the purchase aspect of it, the ability to purchase with reverse mortgage didn't come around until 2009, although the reverse mortgage has been around since late 80s. There's different products. There's adjustable products. There's fixed rate products, which I'll cover some scenarios so that you guys can see what those look like on a purchase aspect. But basically, the ability to purchase with the reverse mortgage didn't come around until 2009. You used to have to purchase the house with traditional financing and then get a reverse mortgage. So you'd have to pay closing costs twice. And then, they shored up that problem. And so we're not facing that anymore. Now you can actually just purchase with a reverse mortgage. Okay, so benefits so a HECM is a home equity conversion mortgage. It's just another name for a reverse mortgage. Sometimes you'll hear people refer to it as a HECM loan, but that's what the HECM stands for, home equity conversion mortgage. So the benefits of it, I'm just going to cover really quickly. If for some reason the house was to ever become upside down, like let's say, so interest is the only thing that interest and MIP are the only things that accumulate onto the loan. So if they're not making a payment, they're not paying those things down. So they actually tack onto the loan. So let's say that they got a benefit of $200,000 and in 15 years they pass away and they actually owe $350,000 on the loan. For the reverse mortgage, but the kids, get the house and they can only sell the house, let's say for $300,000. So they're $50,000 upside down. This doesn't happen anymore because of the changes that they made to this program in 2015. But just in case something happened in the market and things just crashed, the kids would not have to pay that $50,000. They could actually buy the house for 96% of the value if they wanted it, or they can just hand in the keys and be done, and the $50,000 actually gets paid by the mortgage insurance. So you don't ever owe more than what the value of the home is, basically. So and then the home would get transferred to children. A lot of kids think that if somebody gets a reverse mortgage and the bank owns the home, like I give you $200,000 and then I own the home after you pass away. That's not true at all. They always own the home. There's always equity in the home. And so the kids would always have money to walk away with. Not as much as if the parents had made a payment the whole time, but there is money that they would walk away with in the sale of the house, or if they decided to keep it or whatever. There's always equity in the home. And then obviously there's no mortgage payment, like I stated before. So they don't have to make a mortgage payment. Taxes and insurance are always required. There is an option that somebody can do a set aside. It's called a LISA. It's a set aside of property taxes and insurance. The only negative to getting a LISA or a taxes and insurance set aside is that we don't know how long the person's going to live. So there's a calculation that they do in the system that will collect taxes and insurance for the life of the loan. And I say life of the loan, you know, quote unquote, life of the loan, but a lot of times that set aside is 40,000 or 50,000. And I know Tessa's parents got a reverse mortgage and had to actually have the LISA set aside and had to come in with money in order to cover that LISA set aside. So for some people, they have to do it because their credit isn't good enough to not have it. And then there's other people that don't need it. So that's the taxes and insurance. Okay, so other benefits, just wanted to cover. This is not necessarily a rate-driven product. It's not a FICO-driven product. I've done reverse mortgages with somebody with a 425 FICO. There isn't a minimum FICO requirement on this particular program. You don't have to have reserves like you do on some other programs, but obviously it is a little bit larger of a down payment than you would see on a traditional loan. And I'll get to those in just a second. I have a couple of scenarios so that you guys can kind of look and see what it looks like on a purchase. There is no debt to income ratio necessarily on this program. You can qualify people on just Social Security, whereas on a traditional loan, you can't. Sometimes qualify people just on Social Security because the debt to income ratio has to be a certain percentage. But on the reverse mortgage, for a single person, they only need to have $598 left over after you count everything on credit and the property taxes and insurance on the new mortgage loan. They have to at least have $598 left over if they're a single person. And if it's a couple, they have to have $998 left over in residual income after you factor in everything on credit and their property taxes and insurance and any HOA and anything like that on the new mortgage. So it's really easy to qualify people. I've qualified people on making like $2,000 a month, and that's all that they make. So, you know, that part of it is good because some seniors right now, the house that they want to buy, they can't qualify on the sources of income that they currently are getting because it's less than when they were working. So not everyone on title needs to be 62, but everybody on the loan needs to be 62. Oh, wait, let me take that back. One of the borrowers has to be 62. One of them doesn't need to be. If it's a couple and the wife is younger, the husband is younger, or however that works, you can still do the loan as long as one of them is 62. It just factors off of your benefit amount, factors off of the younger person's age. So I've had people where they're 65 and they're married to somebody who's 45. The loan is going to factor off of the person who's 45 and they're not going to get as much money. So they'd have to bring in more money. So that's the only kind of caveat to it. And then you can get a reverse mortgage at 55. So there's a lot of 55 and older communities going up. You can get a reverse mortgage, but again, it doesn't give you quite as much of a benefit percentage as it would be if you if you were over the age of 62. It just starts to, and then at about 75, I believe, is where it kind of gives you a huge kicker up in percentage amount. I can look at the PLF tables. Brandon and I were just reviewing it yesterday, and there's a kicker up at like 70 something to where the percentage goes from like 47 to 56 or something like that. So it's better if you're older, but And then they have to do a counseling session, which is really easy. You give them a list of counseling agencies, you tell them to call. It's like an hour over the phone. I prepare them ahead of time for the counseling. I don't want them to learn anything in the counseling session from them. I just want it to be, I just need the certificate kind of a thing. But it is, HUD does it because there are a lot of loan officers that tend to mislead seniors. And so it's a middle ground person that's giving them all the details that just in case you didn't give it to them in the proper fashion. Like a lot of people say that.
Can I step in real quick?
Yeah.
Every time I speak to lenders or have lending background, they speak as if everyone understands what they're saying, and we don't. So
Sorry.
I want to break it down for us folk that are less inclined to understand what's going on. So if you buy a property normally, let's say you have $200,000 down, you're buying a home for $500,000, you put your $200,000 down, you start making payments on that $300,000 mortgage you have. In a reverse mortgage, same thing applies pretty much. You're putting your money down, but instead of having a monthly mortgage payment each month, what's happening is that you're no longer making that monthly mortgage payment. Doesn't mean that monthly mortgage isn't happening. So that interest on that property is being accrued and has been put in the back end, if you will. And so if they had a $300,000 mortgage that they took out every single month, that $300,000 mortgage actually goes up, right? It goes up by the amount of interest and fees that's associated with it. And that number keeps on going up. And so you can get to the point where you no longer have equity in your house.
Well, that's not true any longer. That's not true any longer. So what they did is they backed down the percentages in 2015 so that I can show you a table before we get off today on a natural reverse mortgage that'll show you that they're never upside down in the loan ever. And that's based on a 4% appreciation of the property a year. So in California, our homes appreciate for more than 4%. So that's kind of conservative in that regard. But in most cases now, as long as they've got the loan after 2015, there's no way to be upside down the loan. Will they have as much money as they would if the borrower paid the loan every month? No.
Hold on.
They will still have money.
How is that the case? Like if my property stays the same, let's say that there's no market shift, it just stays the same. Then how is it that I'm going to have equity if I've lived in the property for 30 years extra?
Let me show you.
That'd be great. The scenario I want to say is, let's say I get into a property reverse mortgage at age 62 and I live until I'm 90. Like typically during that period of time, all the equity is going to be gone. So what happens after my kids inherit the property? You said something about them being able to get it at 96% of market value or what the loan value is.
Yeah, at the market value. So if the market value is 400,000, then they can buy it at 96% of the 400,000, or they can walk away, but they don't have to pay what's owed.
Okay, so
if that makes sense.
It's still the point's the same, is that their equity goes away, right? If I inherit my parents' property and they were upside down theoretically from the loan aspect of it, but I still get at 97%, that's virtually no equity, right? So a lot of people have fear that when they do get a mortgage or they do a reverse mortgage, that their inheritance or their children, whoever's going to inherit their estate, is not going to have any equity, right? Which is true. But you have to realize that you could either give it to your kids or actually live off of your own property or live off of your own equity that you have, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me I'm finding a set of loan documents because I want to show you. Let's see.
I don't think we necessarily need to get into the weeds of every single aspect of it. I think what I was most excited about this opportunity was for us agents to be able to know that there's a way when we're talking to seniors, or even when we're advertising or marketing this, to on social media or on a mailer, or when you're door knocking, whatever it is, to let people know that there is a way in which they can sell their home, go buy another house using a reverse mortgage. Because again, the thought that I had is, if I own a property, let's say in California for $800,000, and I had a $300,000 loan amount on it, so I've got $500,000 of gross equity, I can sell my property, move to a different state, and downsize and buy a home for $500,000 and not have any more mortgage, right? Get rid of that $300,000 mortgage I had before.
Yes.
So that's
Mhm.
awesome that could be done. But in that same scenario, let's say you had that same $500,000 and you go buy that home for $500,000, instead of putting all of your equity into this property and not having a mortgage anymore, because that's the objective of people, so they can minimize debt, they can go buy that home and put down whatever the minimum requirement is. Let's say, it's, what is it, 62%
Yeah.
payment. They put that 62% down payment, then that means that the rest of that money, they could be used for buying another investment property or doing whatever the heck they want.
Yeah.
Mortgage.
So let's get to the examples. Let me just show you this really quick. So this is an amortization schedule that you'll see in like a final set of loan documents. So I just want to show you just really quick here. So this goes from so their first year where this person is going to be 63 all the way down to age 99. You can see their age in this column right here. And this shows what would accumulate onto the loan. So their rate is like 6.165. Okay. This is the interest that would accumulate, where the loan balance would go, what they have currently in the line of credit. So this grows, and then where they feel like the property value will be, and then where the equity will be. So right now they have like 342,000 in equity. If they kept it till age 99, they'd have 398,000 in equity. So the equity doesn't really change here. And it doesn't ever go negative. So I wanted to show that because it is considered to be a negative AM loan, but there always is equity. And this is because they changed the percentages of the way that they were giving out money. They used to give out 60 and 70% of the value in benefit. Now they give out like 40 to 50% in benefit amount. So I just wanted to cover that really quick, but let me get back to the PowerPoint, because this is going to show, let me just get to the examples. There's a lot of misconceptions about the loan, that the bank owns it, that the heirs will inherit the debt. Some of this we've already covered, that they'll be upside down. Let me just get to
This is making an assumption that the home that they bought at age 63 for 400, that's worth 463 in 37 years is gonna be worth 1.9 million.
correct.
Which
Yeah.
theoretically could happen. or it
Yes.
could happen. The whole point isn't necessarily to say, oh, your kids are still going to have an inheritance when it's all said and done. The whole point is to say, you as a homeowner, you have a right to your equity. This is in which you could eliminate debt, put cash in your pocket, and be able to downsize, do whatever the heck you want.
Let me skip some of these. I want to get to this is just going, we can go back to some of these where I did research on the communities and stuff. Okay, so here's real examples. Okay, this is a 68-year-old buyer.
Your screen's
okay.
not, it's still on that amortization.
Oh, it is? Okay. How do I
unshare your screen and share it back?
stop share? Here we go. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so this is a 68-year-old buyer. They're getting a fixed rate reverse mortgage at 6.75%. Now, after they sold their existing home, they have $400,000 in cash in hand. So they could go buy a house for $400,000 cash if they wanted to do that. Okay. And I'm doing here cash of new home, or cost of new home would be $400,000. Now, this is kind of unrealistic because there's not a lot of $400,000 homes out there right now. But this shows you what the reverse mortgage would come in with $129,000. They would only have to bring in the $270,000, and it would leave this $129,000 left in their pocket to live on. So instead of putting all of the $400,000 into buying the new house, it gives them a little bit of reserves to live on every month if they needed that, or like a little nest egg that they wouldn't have normally had they just bought the house out with cash. Okay, so this is one example. Second, that was just saying, okay, second example. So same thing, 68-year-old borrower, fixed rate reverse mortgage at 6.75. Now these are higher than they were a couple of years ago. So the benefit is always based on interest rate and expected rate for the adjustable program. So the higher the rate, the less the benefit for them. So right now, people are getting less money than they were a year and a half ago when rates were lower, the benefit was higher. Okay. So this is showing you that you have $400,000 after you sell your house. Your cost of your new home is $600,000. Your reverse mortgage would be $198,000. That's what the reverse mortgage would give you. And then your down payment would be $400,000. So you could use the whole $400,000, but now your buying power is $600,000 home versus only a $400,000 home. So you could buy, you have more buying power. Do you have any money left over afterwards? No. However, you actually get a better house out of the whole deal if that's what you wanted to do. It just gives you more ability to buy beyond where they only have cash for. So this is another example. Okay.
Carla,
Then,
there are questions that I think it's worthwhile answering.
Yeah.
One was, can you refinance at a reverse mortgage?
you can refinance out a reverse mortgage and go back to a traditional mortgage. I don't see very many people that do that, only because they have a qualifying problem. But you can always get out of a reverse mortgage. I tell people,
By
stay in
selling
it
the
a
house as well,
year.
right?
Yeah. Huh?
You can sell the home and pay back the reverse mortgage as well.
Yes, correct. You can do anything you want with the home. It's yours to do with, just like any other mortgage that you would have. You just have to
And Lisa asked, does the property have to go through probate if the parents die before? And I think the answer is, it depends on if the house is in the trust or not. The mortgage is irrelevant on the probate aspect of it. Probate's big upon how title is held.
Yeah, I always really encourage people that don't have a trust when I'm doing their loan to get one with the proceeds that they get out of it, or, if they have any extra money, it's so worth it, because you then just take over the house. You can put it on the market and sell it right away after they pass away, and you don't have all of that other stuff to deal with. So
another
I
question
encourage
is,
people to do that. Yeah.
Can a child keep a reverse mortgage if they inherit the house and there's still equity?
No, so the reverse mortgage does not follow the property, it follows the person. So once both people or one person, they pass away, the heirs have a year in order to figure out what they're going to do. So either they're going to keep the house or they're going to sell it. So they can keep the mortgage for that year. They can keep the reverse mortgage for that year, but then they have to have the transaction finalized within that 12-month period of time. So,
and the last great question, Rochelle, is who is a good candidate for a reverse mortgage, and how do we determine if it's a good fit for them?
So a good candidate is somebody who can't afford to get a mortgage. So they want to sell their house and they want to buy something else, but what they come out of the house that they're selling with, they don't have enough money to put either down and they can't qualify them for the mortgage, or they don't want a mortgage payment at all. So they want to pay strictly cash, but whatever they have cash for, they can't find a house for that particular price. The reverse mortgage could come in with more money for them, more buying power for them to be able to purchase something with a higher value, and still be out of that mortgage payment. They still wouldn't have the mortgage payment. So they would still benefit exactly the same. It would be the same transaction that paying all cash would be for. So hopefully I answered that question.
And then can you extend that time after the parents pass away, extend it more than a year, or is that fixed?
Yeah, so I was helping somebody during COVID, when COVID happened and they stopped everything. So what happens is at the 6-month point, well, actually you have to notify them that the parents have passed away and your clock starts. You get automatically 6 months, and then you have to apply for 2 or 3-month extensions. Now, during COVID, I had somebody that it was a kid situation. There were several of them and there wasn't a trust. And they struggled to get things through court systems during COVID. And so it actually took 2.5 years, and they never called the loan due and payable. They never foreclosed on them or anything like that. they knew that it wasn't their fault and that they were trying to handle everything. So it just really depends on the situation that you're in. If you're, you know, if there's 4 kids and they're all fighting over who's going to get it, who's going to keep it in a court situation, you just have to show proof that you are trying to do something. You can't come at day 364 and say, oh, I think I'm going to put it on the house. I'm going to put the house on the market now. You can't do that. You have to be diligently doing something during that 12 months because they're going to ask for proof of that. And so you can technically have longer. Yeah.
Can you tell me on that sheet, if you have it, how old do I have to be to put down 50% typically?
Okay. Yeah. So Brandon, do you want to bring up that PLF sheet since you probably have access to it and maybe chime in and give him that answer?
I don't. The PLF sheet only shows it going through, I think 62. I don't believe it goes down all the way to 55. Actually, no, it does.
No. I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about down payment.
Yeah, so he has a sheet that goes by age and percentage of what the reverse mortgage would give them, right?
Right. So now the PLF sheet goes from 5.5 to 7.125 margin, it looks like. So
yeah,
at 55 years old, you would be anywhere between, looks like 75 and 67% down payment.
Brandon, let me rephrase the question.
okay.
If I'm 70 years old, what do I have to put down as down payment?
If you're 70, you have to put down anywhere from 64% to 58%.
And the reason for the 2 numbers is because it really depends on
The rate?
like sometimes you have to change the margin or the rate and lower it to give them more benefit. So then that would give them more money and less money. So that's the reason that there's where he's giving you a 58 to 70 or whatever percentage.
So there's not an age in which someone's only putting 50% down. Is that correct or wrong?
No, that's definitely wrong. You can get in with only 50% down if looks like it's about 79 years old, 78 years old will get you there, right there too.
So your average Joe is going to have to be putting down 65%. Is that correct?
Yeah. And so Nazar, understand that that's only changed in the last year and a half because the expected rate now is like 7%. When that goes back down and we're doing margins at 2.25% and the expected rate is 4%, they're getting a whole lot more money and your percentages are way back down to where it's more reasonable. Right now, because of where rates are, it's just kind of shifted a little bit, but it will go back. I know that it will. And so that's why it may look unobtainable right now, but I truly feel like there are still people out there that this would benefit for sure. Let me show you. So this is so just so you guys know, there's an adjustable rate product and a fixed rate product. When you purchase, Brandon and Corey would look at the numbers and they would see which one you would have to bring in less money for. Usually the adjustable rate product is always better. And the reason that I say it's always better, if you see this right here, it's a 6.0 expected rate. This is what the numbers are based on. The margin is 2.625 plus whatever the 10-year CMT, whatever that number is, which I think right now brings it to like 5.1. So your adjustable rate loan would be at 5.1, but if you got a fixed rate, the lowest is 6.75. So going fixed rate usually eats at your equity a lot faster than picking an adjustable rate program in this particular thing. And then here you can see that same scenario. They would have to bring in only 370,000 versus I believe on the other one, they had to bring in like 401. So it's like a $30,000 difference by going with the adjustable rate program in the same scenario here. But I wanted to get to showing you guys these examples. So there's a lot of people that get divorced at this age, believe it or not. And you can do a reverse mortgage. So one person can stay in the home and they can get a reverse mortgage. They can buy the other spouse out of the home. You can take that spouse's money or their proceeds and take that and go buy a property for them. So now they each have their own home. And that helps, you know, because normally they can't qualify for getting cash out of their house in order to buy the other person out so that they can leave and go their own way. Now, the second scenario, so that would make them both out of a monthly mortgage payment, obviously, because the one spouse that stays in the home would have no mortgage payment. They would have their own HECM loan, and then the other person would have their own HECM loan on the new property that they buy. Just know in the state of California, they have to be divorced. It can't be just a separation. They have to have physical divorce papers in order for this to work. So they have to be divorced in order for the spouse to go get the second reverse mortgage, because you can only have one reverse mortgage at a time. And they consider that when you're married, it's community property. So it would be both people. So that's why you have to be fully divorced in order to do this. And then the second scenario is selling the home, selling the marital home and dividing the money. So let's say the home is worth, I'm just going to go $1 million. They each walk away with $500,000 because the home is paid off. Now they can each take their $500,000 and each of them can buy a property with a reverse mortgage with their own $500,000. Now they don't need to use the whole $500,000, but it at least gives them the ability to each buy a house. So this for a realtor is besides of a transaction that you could be getting by helping them out of this situation and getting them each into their own house if nobody wants to stay in the one. Now, oftentimes I've come across people who couldn't refinance their house because they didn't qualify. But if they sold and did a reverse mortgage, they could get out of a mortgage payment by going that direction. It's just because how they come out with money, like Nazar was saying at the very beginning, the example we were talking about was, you know, being able to take that money and, you know, what if they sell this home and take that money and go buy something else? They'd probably be downsizing, but they still would be able to get out of a mortgage payment. So, and that's just because maybe they don't have enough value in their home that they're living in right now in order to get enough reverse mortgage proceeds to pay off the loan that they have. But they could go and sell it, take all the proceeds, and then go get another house with the proceeds and a reverse mortgage. So there's lots of different situations, but I wanted to show those ones, you know, in particular, and, you know, those samples. Okay, so on a purchase for a reverse mortgage, there's a lot of caveats. There's some fees that you can't charge that are not allowed. I have a cheat sheet that I'll give to Brandon and Corey. So if you guys do come across this, there's some things that, you know, can't be paid by the buyer in a reverse mortgage. Like if you have a transaction coordinator, you can't charge that fee. They consider that to be a junk fee. You're just going to have to figure out how to pay them out of your own commission if that's a person that you have on that helps you do things. So that's one of the things. And then if you're buying a new build with a reverse mortgage, which is something I believe that my first transaction that I had here, I believe that my clients are going to end up buying a new build. So you have to have the certificate of occupancy before you can order the appraisal. So it's kind of, you know, that's a little bit different than I believe if you just were purchasing with a regular loan. I believe that they can do an appraisal when it's not quite finished, but in this program, you can't do that. And also this program, you want to make sure that you're working with an escrow company that knows what they're doing, because when it gets to the end, everyone is so CD focused now, closing disclosures, because that's what everybody issues. But reverse mortgages are old school. They go off of a HUD 1, and somebody needs to know how to tally the HUD 1, and it can get very messy at the end if the company doesn't know. So there's a lot of national reverse mortgage companies, and you know, if your buyer is buying with one, you can always just, you know, have the seller, hey, can you pick this escrow because it's going to be a lot easier at the end game, because they know what they're doing because we're using a reverse mortgage, and usually they'll be, good with doing that. And so that's
So Carla, we're doing close to that time.
yeah.
And obviously this is amazing. I appreciate you putting all this together. And if you wanted to send these slides over to me, I'll get them sent to everybody that wants it.
Okay.
I can kind of review this.
Sorry, I didn't get to cover everything.
That's okay. There's just a lot to cover when it comes
There
to this.
is.
I think the biggest thing for us as agents to like, glean from this is just to say, like, when you're talking to somebody, there's opportunities to create a transaction, and more than anything to help, somebody that is in a house that might feel like they're stuck, that they're only on Social Security and they're drowning in making their payments. You could help them get out of that and help them put them in a situation where they're going to be a lot more comfortable. Because you can imagine if you're making a mortgage payment and you're only living off of Social Security and it's tight and stressful and it's very expensive right now to live, if you could help them, even if they move out of state into a place that's more comfortable, let's say their kids have moved to Idaho and they want to move closer to Idaho, they can do this and have it make sense for them. And you could be the winner and make, you could be the hero of the story by helping them acknowledge that there is a way instead of them being stuck.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
I'll send this because there is some research that I did. There's 55places.com that talks about, there's also the senior real estate specialist certification that you can get and add. That just gives you more talking points with people too. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. If you have any more detailed questions, Rochelle had a lot of them. Please reach out to Carla, reach out to Brandon and Corey, and they can answer those questions for you. And I think as we continue to grow, there's more and more of those baby boomers are going to need this. This is going to be a product for them to truly benefit their lives and make it more convenient and more healthy. Like, most people don't have investment properties. They just have their one home because they've been taught buy a house, pay cash, and then not have any more, debt left. And this could help them really have a better quality of life in their golden years. So
in some cases, Nazar, they can even refinance the home that they're living in, and they can buy an investment property that will give them income every month from the cash that they get out of their current primary residence. So there's so many different ways that you could use this to get a deal out of it for sure and help them.
Yeah, I mean, perfect example. You gave a phenomenal example. Let's say I own a house for $600,000 and it's paid in cash, right? I can sit on the equity that's not doing anything for me,
right?
Or I can take out, call it $300,000, or whatever the maximum is to do a reverse mortgage on my property. I still have no more mortgage, or I don't have any more payments, so it's the same. Now I go buy an investment property, and I can have that as additional income that's coming in, and that property is something that my kids can inherit as well. And so, the equity doesn't necessarily go away or disappear. So lots of really cool different things you can do with that.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me share today.
You bet. Thank you so much. All right, you guys have an awesome Thursday. Bye.
Bye.